Before recording this video, I knew basically nothing about Doom. I, of course, knew about Doom, I mean, who doesn't, but I wouldn't even say I knew the basics of the game. Like, I knew it was a first-person shooter about slaughtering demons and violent, gory glory, the music, and random small stuff, but I didn't even know the basic game loop. Doom was not a series I was ever interested in, mainly because 1, I'm not someone who cares for any sort of violent and gory games like Doom, and 2, I'm just not a fan of shooters. The genre just isn't that fun to me. Even games like Metroid Prime I don't like, despite being a fan of Metroidvanias. Of course, that doesn't mean I don't like any shooters, there are a few that I do. However, if you look at this list, you'll likely realize that it's mostly Half-Life, with only 6 games if you cut out the extra stuff. Given I don't like shooters, I never thought about trying Doom, until Doom Eternal appeared on the Steam store at 90% off, totaling $4. And I feel like it'd be dumb to not grab that deal, especially because it makes good content. So, that leads us to the start of our demonic slaughter, to see why the series is so beloved, and if it'll join the ranks of shooters that even I, animus towards the genre, can like. We start in the best way possible, completely missing the first shot on a target walking in a straight line. I'm so good at this. After adjusting the sensitivity, which I later revert, we get back to the tutorial, where we're introduced to glory kills, the chainsaw, and weapon mods. Given it's the early game, not too much interesting happens. So I'll take this time to cover my documentation while playing and go over my thoughts about the mechanics just introduced. Every day after playing, I would spend some time mulling over the game and write down the things that stood out to me. I'll show the full doc at the end of the video. However, I forgot to write down anything on the first day due to fixing a bug that was preventing the second level from loading. Back to the game, let's talk about what's been added so far. First is something you'd probably not expect me to talk about: the combat shotgun you start with. Most games usually start you out with some weak but consistent weapon, typically some kind of handgun. It felt odd to start with something so strong, even with figuring that it's so that weapons aren't replaced. Second, glory kills, which I'm a bit mixed about. I feel like they're a bit slow and repetitive, but they're good mechanically. Giving extra health not only keeps the slayer alive, but also incentivizes the player to stay somewhat close to enemies. Yes, I know you can make glory kills faster with the savagery rune, but that's a conversation for after we actually get a rune. Third, the chainsaw. I don't really like the chainsaw for the same reason as glory kills, but I think it is one of the best ways to implement an ammo refill mechanic. If enemies dropped ammo on death, it'd likely be that enemies drop a small amount of each ammo. But if enemies drop too much ammo, at best, the entire ammo mechanic gets undermined. And even if they dropped a balanced amount of ammo, this design would unfairly affect worse players, so the players who would need the most ammo would be the most likely to be deprived of it. On top of that, this ends up having a problem where the player is required to kill to get ammo, which would open the way to someone running out of ammo and being mostly unable to get more due to not having a backup weapon. Because of this, despite my dislike of the chainsaw, I believe it's a really good way to implement the feature. Lastly, weapon mods. They are easily my favorite mechanic. Giving weapons multiple uses and playstyle not only makes weapons stronger, but also gives each weapon use to widely different players. For example, I don't really like the heavy cannon's firing style, and even late game only really used it to weaken enemies to farm glory kills. But I used Precision Bolt constantly throughout the game, with it being my go-to for most destructible weak points. Speaking of which, we have the heavy cannon now. And as I said, I basically only use it for Precision Bolt. The only other notable thing to say about it is my comedic use of the thing because I misassumed how it worked. The The last thing in Hell on Earth we obtain is the equipment launcher, and with it, grenades. I'll make good use of them. There's not much to say about grenades, so instead of talking about them, we'll just have some live highlights. What the fuck? Did I touch a booster? We've just gone in a circle. Kind of. Oh, this. How the fuck did this thing... Oh. Going on over here. Okay. Rude. I push you in the spit. Academia. That's the wrong gun. Let me. Where the fuck did the other guy go? Why would I want to turn that way? After mangling ourselves a path through New York City, we crash Hellcon, confronting the two remaining Hell Priests. Oh, yeah, I didn't mention it earlier for comedic reasons, but we murdered a Hell Priest. After walking around dramatically, ignoring whatever these two idiots are prattling about for 30 seconds, we remind them that we killed one Hell Priest and intend to kill at least two more, which causes them to realize that they should probably leave. After that, their 30-foot tall angel girl boss comes to also prattle about things I don't care about, and since she's a hologram and therefore cannot be physically harmed, we just ignore her and leave. Fuck you. We take a portal and arrive at the Fortress of Doom. There's not much we can do here yet, but we get the Flame Belch and a Sentinel Crystal. I'll talk about those in a second, but first there's a problem. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the second level wasn't loading, which was fixed by turning off Present from Compute. However, this created another problem. While it didn't cause any problems for me while playing, OBS had some issues with the change, and most of the footage from the rest of the game looks like this. So, for your viewing pleasure, I went back and replayed everything. So from now on, the footage from the voiceover will mostly be from the second playthrough, and highlight footage will be from the original. Additionally, there will be less highlight footage because of how bad the screen tearing gets sometimes. For those with photosensitive epilepsy, screen tearing can trigger reactions. So from now on, there will be a notice before the highlights start, and timestamps to let you skip them if you wish. With that said, let's talk about our new spoils. The Flame Belch is great. Like glory kills, it implores players to stay somewhat close to enemies, and the armor provides the bulk to be there. Something the Flame Belch does better though, is that it is quick and unobstructive, which keeps the tempo high. As for Sentinel Crystals, I think they're really smart. Having an upgrade mechanic allows for more choices with difficulty scaling, and the extra bonuses make it so that it's better to diversify your upgrades instead of just stacking health or armor, as well as make you have to choose the order you take upgrades. Before leaving for the next level, we listen to the ARC broadcast, which talks about rumors of the Doomslayer being seen on the other side of the country, near the San Andreas Chasm. But that guy's like the most stereotypical savior archetype. There's no way he actually exists, so instead of praying to sun gods, I'm going to go fix this damn problem myself. However, due to the murder of Deag that we did, the other two Hell Priests have gone into hiding and can't be located. To track them down, we'll need to repair the Celestial Locator, which means heading to Exultia to get the Celestial Casing, then delving into Hell to get its power core. After spending an embarrassing 4 minutes forgetting I can wall climb, we move a bit into the city, then waste another 4 minutes because I forget to pause my recording. Alright, pause OBS? Nope, back to it. Big hand. Afterwards, we get the Blood Punch and a rune. Blood Punch, it exists. It's in this weird gray area where I don't know how to feel about it. It feels like it's too strong to use on weaker enemies, but also doesn't usually feel worth using on heavies because you have an entire military-grade arsenal at your disposal. It's not bad, it's actually quite strong, it does good damage, has an AoE, and it's quick and cheap to get. Or you could just use the many guns that you are equipped with and shoot whatever you're trying to kill. While we're on the topic of punching, I want to talk about the normal punch, because it doesn't really do anything, which feels weird. It only causes fodder demons to recoil, which is mildly helpful for Hell on Earth, but it sets a false precedent that punching does something. I had an idea where it could work as a sort of counter, similar to the green flash counter certain enemies have, but with a much shorter stun. I don't think a melee counter would feel out of place, but I'm not sure if it would feel like a mechanic that matters. I feel like it could easily fall into a similar area as Blood Punch, where it exists, but it never feels like it's worth using over other options. But it would be funny to just counterpunch enemies like it's fucking Punch-Out. Like imagine a Hell Knight doing its jump slam and you just deck it in its stupid face, and it has to stop and take a moment to realize what reality it's in. Moving on to runes, while I like them for allowing further diversity with playstyles, I feel like the balance is all sorts of whack. Like Savagery, why would you care for faster glory kills when they're already like 3 seconds at most and you're invincible the entire time? Or Seek and Destroy, why would you want to glory kill from further away when you have a dash? On the other hand, with how often you're in the air, why would you not use air control? Back to the game, after a bit more traversal, we obtain Dash, and shortly after, enter Exultia's throne room to take the Celestial Casing. While there, King Novik's spirit confronts us, saying that we cannot kill the Hell Priests as, despite their treachery, they are of Sentinel blood, and that if we continue this fight, we'll bring down the Heaven's wrath. Usually at this point, I would say he's prattling about things I don't care about, but I actually want to talk about this scene because of its portrayal of the Slayer. In this scene, when Novik first appears, the Slayer kneels to him in respect, and stays kneeling when he says the Slayer can't slay the priest due to Sentinel law. But when Novik says it's time for Earth's penance, the Slayer walks out on him. And I love how they can show the Slayer's standpoint without words. There were so many fucking S's in that sentence. That was so hard to say. After ignoring Novik's prattling, we take a portal straight to Hell, where we pick up the laser rifle. It's like the heavy cannon if it had a good primary fire. While traversing through Hell, we are unfortunately subjugated by and subjected to the goop. This isn't important, I just wanted to mention it because it was very traumatic. I have not emotionally recovered. Back to things worth talking about, we come across the first Slayer Gate, an optional challenge far more intense than the normal encounters. And I, of course, give no second thought to throwing hands because I have no self-preservation. Slayer Gates are a really fun addition. Having more challenging encounters during the main campaign gives players an idea of the difficulty they have to prepare for, and sometimes they'd have enemies that haven't appeared yet, forcing the player to have to improvise their game plan. These were easily a highlight of the game, and I would usually beeline for the key when a gate was nearby. After finishing the gate, we go find the Betrayer, and he gives us the Celestial Power Core. He tells us that by saving Earth, we will only make our own burden worse. Then, similar to King Novik, he says it's Earth's time to give penance, and once again, the Slayer turns his back. He stops us before we leave, giving us a dagger and asking us to put his son to rest in the most inscrutable and out-of-context way possible. To explicate, his son's heart and soul are bound to the icon of sin, and by destroying his heart, his soul can be put to rest. With the Celestial Locator repaired, all that's left is to get to an extraction point and return to the fortress. So, all that's left to show are the highlights. Again, these will have screen tearing, and it can get quite bad at times. You have been warned. Remember how to aim. Why do you not? Secret found, I guess. No clue what it is. I sure did find it. Why'd they just have that here? Staying in that. Force that open. Probably what that's for. Still no clue what that does. We're just gonna Upright sniping invasion. I'll take it. Come over here. Now that I'm like out of tutorial, I'm enjoying this. Originally I was kind of very basic. Now that we're getting into it. You can dash into these walls. You just walk up and punch that. That ain't important. Don't you ever disrespect me again. My aim is so funny because either like perfect shot or I can't hit shit. switching because I want to reload. It's not a mechanic. I just have good ammo. I don't need to reload it. You ain't tricky. Oh. I don't know why that was important for me to see. Pretty sure I saw something that I didn't do. Fuck off. You're a dickhead. New cool orb that I don't know the purpose of. This is... Okay. I'd assume on Maker. Just given the name. Armageddon weapon. Who the fuck do you think you are? Excuse you, I am half a continent away from you. Oh, okay then. Watch. With the Celestial Locator in hand, we return to the Fortress of Doom and install it, which allows us to locate the second Hell Priest, Deag Ranak, in the Arctic. But before we pursue him, we have some work to do on the fortress, as most of it is inaccessible due to a lack of power. Luckily, we picked up a Sentinel battery while leaving Exultia for Hell, which we can use to power the core, activating most basic functions. But we have more work to do. So we first go and get the Ice Bomb, a second grenade that temporarily freezes enemies. It's really well designed. Being able to freeze demons allows the player to either thin a crowd, or target a dangerous demon and let the player either quickly execute it, or cull the more manageable threats. With the Ice Bomb, we now turn towards the work I mentioned earlier, which is to punish the demon prisoners in the Repertorium. And as you might have guessed, by punish I mean slaughter. Isn't this a war crime? After dealing with the prisoners, we go to obtain a Praetor Suit point, which we can spend to gain passive buffs, such as a faster dash cooldown, a second grenade, faster switch speed, and other helpful upgrades. Like the Sentinel crystals, they allow for more options in difficulty and allow players to take widely different paths from each other, suited to their own playstyles. With the demons punished and our Ice Bomb ready for field testing, we've wrapped up our responsibilities at the fortress and are ready to return to our crusade. But before we set out, there's an entire fortress to explore. Oh fucking bit. What the fuck? Why would you ever have this sludge water in your own home? Huh? Hey. It's only halfway done.
To your equipment launcher has been completed. Once fired, the bomb will douse nearby enemies in freezing gases. You'll have to manually toggle the launcher to fire either ice bombs or frag grenades.
How have people not reckon this place? Wonder. Like, this is a very large place to just have out here. That is a large and annoying door to have. Like, I understand that this is like quite small, like comparatively, not even a fucking word. What? That's the wrong. You compare it to, you know, it's quite far away, but I feel like someone would have spotted this. What the fuck? Tell me we just make this shit here? We just like make giant mechs in this place? Alright. Fuck the elevator. Fine. I'll take the stupid elevator. So that they can get their cool shot. Alright, I guess. Part of my job is just to fucking commit crimes against the prisoners of war. Alright, so far. Definitely like when I was like partway through the game, or like doing the first level, really, I was a bit worried. Not really necessarily worried, but feeling like I wouldn't like this game that much. But it's really stepped it up the last level, which has been made it a lot more fun. With our fortress work done, we return to the hunt, teleporting to the Arctic Cultist Base that Deag controls. This is where the game starts getting real. With the ice bomb, we have all the tools necessary to slaughter the hordes of hell. So from now on, the only thing that will keep us alive is using them. Unfortunately, Ranak is no fool. The base is locked down and rigged, with demons armed to the teeth. The only way forward will be to rip and tear through them. When we first enter the base, we are met with a hologram of Ranak, who tauntingly welcomes us, before an intercom alerts all mortally challenged of our arrival. After rolling ourselves a custom red carpet through the entrance, we pick up a rocket launcher that someone would definitely get fired for leaving in our reach. Thankfully for them, both they and Ranak will be dead before that happens. The only real thing to know about the rocket launcher is that it's the first weapon we get that's good at AoE damage. Other than that, there's not much to say. It launches explosives, you can't really go wrong with that. We delve further into the base and come across another hologram of Ranak.
Your salvation lies in his destruction. The myth of the Slayer's strength is exposed now to us. Can you see it, brothers? He has lost the resolve to continue. Eat his soul. I must survive this. Protect me in my time of need, and you will secure your place in the new world.
In response, we turn this guy into an example, and accidentally turn all of these other guys into examples as well. Shortly after, we activate a mechanism the most bloody and dubious room to ever exist, which allows us a view outside, where you can see the super shotgun in a testing area. Surprisingly, the most bloody and dubious room to ever exist is actually a trap. And the floor drops down into an arena, and an intercom tells all mortally challenged to quote,
"Please proceed with aggression."
After making the most bloody and dubious room to ever exist slightly bloodier, we turn our attention to the super shotgun and start looking for a way to get it. We end up finding an unattended Revenant drone that we create a neural connection with, allowing us to control it. Somehow. I don't understand. We send the Revenant drone into a testing area where demons and drones fight each other for some reason. I think that's what's happening, at least. It's incredibly wasteful, to say the very least, but honestly I wouldn't be surprised. Nevertheless, after using the Revenant drone to prove that the demons would be unstoppable if they used their brains, or had the ability to do so, we return the drone and hand ourselves the super shotgun. And this weapon's cool as hell. Despite it also being a shotgun, it differs heavily from the one we start with, having two main changes. It's double-barreled, so it fires two shells at once, and its spread is rectangular instead of circular. These changes make the super shotgun notably more powerful. However, it also has to reload after every shot, making it much slower. These changes make the weapons feel considerably different. With the super shotgun in hand, we carve a further path into the base. Ranak appears once more as a hologram.
I do not fear you. This match is not won yet. Come find me, Slayer. I will be waiting.
After which he stops moving, allowing us to lock in his position at the Terror Dome. But before we catch a ride there, we have Highlights to ungraciously transition into. And I did hit it. Fucking wall climb in this game is so I did hit scream. Am I just blind? This very Wait, yes. Ooh. I love the sound of that. I killed them all too quick. I didn't get a chainsaw.
brothers and sisters, but he is weak. Your hate must match his will. Only then will you be truly saved.
Rude.
Eat his soul. I must survive this. Protect me in my time of need, and you will secure your place in the new world.
Just an example.
Your super shotgun is nearby. A relic from your past. The priests have kept it hidden from you in this remote location.
That's probably not a good sign. Cue ball.
Attention, all mortally challenged personnel. The Slayer is inside the facility. Please proceed with aggression.
Gotta have this. Right? I have a lot of health. Now knowing Ranak's position, we take a train to Terradome, which houses the Doom Hunter research facility. Real subtle name there. No clue what this facility could possibly be for. After being attacked during the train ride, we enter the facility, but we don't get far before Ranak appears again.
It was not easy to find an opponent worthy of the Slayer, but I think you will be impressed.
In the next room, we see a hologram of the opponent he spoke of, the Doom Hunter. Again, very, very subtle. While we move through the facility, we see machines working on the Doom Hunter, overhauling the corpse of an Agadon Hunter, a creature made explicitly to kill the Slayer and the Night Sentinels that he led. With us getting closer and closer, Ranak appears again, trying to gaslight Gatekeep Girl Boss and Guilt Trip, saying it's our fault that the demons lay siege on Earth.
Was it not the Slayer who brought the demons to us? The Con Maker has you to thank for the gift of Argent energy. It is you who are responsible for your people's suffering.
Unfortunately for him, 1, girl bossing is much harder when you're a man, and 2, he's just really bad at it anyway. Finally, we reach the bowels of the facility, right as the Doom Hunter is being finished.
thought you would appreciate the sentry I chose. The great Argadon hunters from the Telos realm, though long thought to be extinct, created to hunt only the Slayer and his Night Sentinels during the Unholy Crusade. Some improvements on their design have been made. Enjoy what is undoubtedly my finest work. Useless machine, attack!
That's it.
We are not done yet. Excellent. Smash the heretic. Excellent. Smash the heretic.
Pretty far. need some ammo. Help me out of here. With the Doom Hunter's turn to prey, we find Ranak in the flesh. Without its guardians, he's defenseless. Now face to face, he's suddenly less confident and quickly starts begging and bartering for his life. Unfortunately for him, we do not want enhanced power or such gifts to aid us. We just want him to be dead. With his head taken off, his body takes an abnormal amount of time to fall over. But who cares? There's more work to do. Next time. Because if you haven't noticed, I've already taken up an hour of your time, and this video has already taken a while to make. So, subscribe for part 2, and I'll see you then.